Hi there, and welcome to creating control objects for your rig. So here's our friend here, Eve, and she is all rigged as per the last session. And now we're going to put control objects on her so that we can more easily animate her. The problem with her is that the way it is that it's if I don't have the special X-ray on, it's hard to see the joints. Um, And if you can't see the joints, you can't animate it. I mean, I can blindly grab in here and then pick walk, which is using the up arrow or down arrow to go through the things, but that's kind of hard to do. It's much easier if you have control objects. So the first control object we're going to make is the big one, the one that controls her entire body. Now, unlike, most objects, you can scale NURBS and they don't do a darn thing. Nobody cares. Um, These are NURBS objects here, curved surfaces, and we're going to use these to be our control objects just for that purpose, because you can grab them, you can move them, you can attach them, you can animate them, but they don't render and they don't need to have any of their properties reset or anything. All right. So I'm going to call this first one mover. And so this one is going to be the one we use to move her around in space. But we're not quite there yet. I'm going to then hit Control D and create another one. Go to a front view. And I want this one to be aligned with her hips there. And I'm going to bring this one in a little bit. Yep, so it's more aligned with, more sized with her hips. And I'm going to look at this in a side view as well to try and get this all perfect. Great. Okay, so this one I'm going to call hips. And then we go back down here. I will set a bunch of these up and then we'll go back and we'll hook them up. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit Control D and copy that again. I'm going to scale this down, but instead of moving it up this time, I'm going to use these for the feet. So I'm just going to make it kind of an oval shape so it more mimics how the foot is. And I don't need to align it to anything in particular. It just needs to kind of control where her foot is, a little better size to her foot. You still want to be able to grab them, so it needs to be big enough to be able to see what you're doing, but not too big so that it kind of gets in the way. All right. And why don't we just go ahead and name this one foot underscore L for foot left. And then we're going to Control D that over to the other one. Make sure it's sort of aligned. Go in and change that to foot right. Great. So now we have a few controllers to work with, and we'll do some for the arms, but honestly, most of the time I like to have my arms animate with FK instead of IK. IK is where you move an object and the legs bend automatically. IK is arc. FK is called forward kinematics, is where you rotate the bones one at a time. Um, but and later on we'll get into how to put an FK IK switch in, but not in this lesson where we're just learning how to add controllers to stuff. Oh, we need one more. We're going to put a controller on her head. So once again, Control D off of her hips here, and I'll put here right where her head bone is. It's like right there somewhere. If you want, you can turn on for a short time the snap twos. This is snap to point, so I can snap that. You can kind of feel it. It snaps. to different points in her mesh right now. We wanted to snap to view plates, no. Snap to grids, snap to points. So let's turn her body off for a second. And then we'll take this and then we can snap it to that pretty easily. Then we turn her body back on and we can reduce the size of that. Nope. Big enough to select it, not big enough so it's a pain in the butt to look at. All right. Great. Okay, so what do we do from here? Let's hook up some IK. Okay, up here again in the, right now we're in curves, we want to go to rigging. You see this is the joint creator. Now we want to create IK handles. IK handles will allow for inverse kinematics. And I'll explain how they work in a second. But first, what we want to do is click on one, and we're going to put them on her legs. So I'm going to click on where I want the top of them to be, which is on her hip here. Hide that. Oh, wait. There's something weird. I have to. I don't know when you're viewing this if this is the same version that I'm using, but right now in this version, there's a bug that won't allow you to apply IK if, I think it's handles or helpers or something. Handles or collect. Let's see. I love workarounds. Pivots? Yeah, pivots. So we want to click on the top of the leg and then, oops, I went too far. Okay. IK handles. This to here, to her heel. Hit enter, and that will create that one. Click on something else, click back on here. This to this, enter. And what does that do? That allows us then to move her body and her knees will bend, and I'll show you in a second. But before we get there, we're going to do what's called a reverse one. So I click on her toe to her ankle, and that gives us a reverse one for her foot. And then we'll do it again, toe to ankle, gives us a reverse one for her foot. So now we have all these handles. So let's call this one LL for leg left. I want to keep IK handle on them, although the icon gives it away what it is. This one here, LR for leg right. This one here, FL for foot left. And this one here, FR for foot right. Okay. Now, in order to have this work, we need to connect those handles. These handles here. So if I were to grab one of these, you can grab this and move the body down. Oops, that's not going to work yet. Now, well, let me grab the handles. Yeah, so as I grab the handle, you can see it kind of moves a bit. Okay, so we need to parent these handles to the proper foot. So with the handle selected, I'm going to select that. And now this owns that. So left leg is attached to left foot mover. And now left foot is also attached to left foot mover. So now I can grab this. I don't have to worry about any of that weirdness. Oh, I know what's happening. I accidentally have that still on. I don't have that still on. And now when I pick it up, it bends like a real foot would bend. Okay, so let's do the same with the other side. I can select both of those at the same time and parent that to her other leg. And now when I move this, I can move it out to the side or up and down. It's actually quite a bit more interesting when you can see her body. And you can see that doesn't look so good, but that looks okay. And we can then move her foot out to the side or up. So that's IK is when we have an object and we can move it and the other object follows. So for legs, this is really important because most of what you're doing with legs is having her like land on the ground or jump or walk or something. So absolutely you need IK in the legs. I still think FK is better in the arms unless you're like climbing a ladder or pulling yourself up a thing. It's good to put in the switch, and like I said, we'll do that later. Okay. Let's continue this. I'm going to take the top of our skeletal hierarchy here, which as you might remember is called root, and I'm going to parent that to this circle here. So now I can grab this circle, and that moves her hips. And I can rotate it or whatever I want to do, and then the legs go with it, which is great. So now what I want to do is make sure that when I move this mover object around, that the hips and the feet go with it. So I have to take this object and parent it down to this. And then I want to take the feet and also parent it to this. And now I can take this object and use that to move her through space because that controls everything else. Okay, oops, forgot to do the head. So the head one is a little bit different. The head one, we need to tell this bone to, I'll hide that again for right now. We need to tell this bone to do whatever this bone does. And we're going to do that with a constraint rather than an IK thing. I suppose we could do it with an IK thing. Well, I've always just done it with a constraint. So we're going to tell this one, which is you have to do it backwards. So select the parent and then the child. And then you go constrain, and we're going to do an orient constraint. We want to maintain offset. I hit apply, and theoretically, when I move this around now, her head moves. It's just an easier way of animating her head. Cool, close that down. Guess what? That mover there needs to be parented down the line. So if you parent it to this, then when you move her body, it's going to move her head. So you just have to be kind of aware of that. I mean, her body will move with her head anyways, but just so you know that, like, if you want her legs to stay, her whole upper body's going to move anyways. Okay, so let's just select this, parent it to that. Now we move this. And her body twists. And move this, her head twists. We can animate them separately. If she needs to bend down or jump up or whatever, we've got that available now. And that's how you put simple controls on a rigged character. You've now added IK into the mix. Now the other thing we'll do is we'll add an IK FK switch because we could very well come in here, select this, go to here, come back, which is what we'll do, right? Eventually. I turn those things off again. I think it was pivot. IK. U to U. And you can see it's created a handle. All we need to do is, just like we did before, create a circle. Scale that up. Rotate it to fit. Move it into place. Might as well make one for the other wrist. And we can add another IK handle over there. IK handle. Arm right. IK handle. Arm left. I don't know what that was. Put those back in place so they're kind of centered around that. Parent that IK handled with that. Parent that IK handled did that. Parent both of these to those. And there you go. Now you can move the arms just like you did the legs. So if you like animating with IK on the hands, that's how you put it on. And if you want to actually turn it off, we can make a big switch sort of thing for it. But an easy way, if you, until we get to that thing, an easy way to do it is you can just turn this off here. Just click the IK blend to 0, and then it'll revert back to FK. It's easier than making a switch, but we can. It's another, yeah. Any of these things you can key on and off, and we'd have to make something out here, and we'll get back. We'll get to it. All right. That is helper objects.